Woe unto the conquered emperor. And we've got a very interesting vibe following up the last reading, the Blue Moon reading. It's when the Emperor card came out in that reading, they were upright and indicating bringing in some sort of change, which is why I wanted to dig into this a little bit further, see like what is that change about and whatnot. And when I pulled out these Morrigan cards, because Emperor, you think of war, things like that, got Fea and Tribe, and her name, what the book was saying, means an exclamation of woe, because what's being shown here is mourning, and those are they're keening. That was a funerary practice in Irish society, ancient Irish society. Um, it was the wailing after somebody died, like publicly, and well, the wailing was publicly, regardless of the means of how they crossed into the other world. But the death card also came out in that last reading in that same position with the Emperor, the death card, and the Justice card. And this would be like the equivalent of the death card. So a lot of emphasis on that. And the dice roll was interesting too, because I got the 10th house again, but this time I got Neptune and Aquarius, and we got Leo last time, so sister signs. So it's like the wheel is flipping. We went from one emperor to the other, or this is a clash between two emperors. Not entirely sure, but the vibe is big because we're still in that Algol conjunction, the blue moon vibe. So I want to get some charms to see if we can get some more identifying factors about this emperor. Let's see. My bag of tricks. Definitely want some more letters. I think that'll do. That seems like plenty. And such a contrasting vibe to the beginning of Pride, so happy Pride. So I switched my whole setup out here and I got my Anthony Bourdain candle out because, I don't know, Pride feels like a celebration of humanity to me. And his show definitely, when I'm struggling with my faith in humanity, I find myself gravitating towards his show. We've got EU, BU, maybe some European emperors, YL, VE, OV, D, another E, 3 E's, L, R, and C. That's all the letters. I know it doesn't quite spell it, but I'm kind of getting Uvalde. There's no A here, but just that, like, I don't know, lack of action. That kind of vibe. Like there was a threat and people are dragging their heels, something like that. There is love spelled out there, perfect for Pride Month. Bull? I feel like I slipped and said bull moon in the last reading. Something about Taurus? Maybe somebody's a Taurus. Taurus season is significant in some way. A fern. It's our love fern. Like that movie. What is it? How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. This looks like either a little kitty or a fox. I can't quite tell. Very stylized. An owl. wisdom. Lilith as well. Another owl, but this one has a scarf. It's cute. Pumpkins. I mean, there's a fire festival depicted here in that, the tribe card, so I think the next one is in fall. Next one might actually be Samhain. And this kind of looks like ginseng. This one too. Like a ginseng leaf. I think that's a supplement. A little pumpkin cupcake. Lots of pumpkins and leaves. So fall, change, changing of the seasons, changing of the guard. That looks like a cauldron. Another leaf. It looks like just more leaves. And maybe grapes. Harvest. Oh, and a star. The star. Healing. This kind of looks like a nautical star. You see in the classic tattoos. So maybe they have nautical stars. My millennial is showing. Yeah, maybe a harvest. I mean, 2 owls that could represent the emperors, but we've got 1 emperor in the upright and 1 in the reverse. And I'd also heard of Fea referred to as the force of frenzy before. And the different aspects kind of depends on which period of Irish history and stuff you're looking at. Even different interpretations of such. But this book attributes frenzy to Navon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So, hidden aspects, or maybe not apparent aspects of self, bringing out the less obvious, getting past the persona, a little bit more into the authentic self, maybe? But that flip from Leo to Aquarius is really interesting, because I mentioned that specifically in regards to Pluto. That there was a seed potentially planted when Pluto was in Capricorn and meant to flower in Gemini season, but now Pluto is in Aquarius, which tears down systems or aspects of systems that are outdated, are archaic, are covertly harmful, that, well, this is the way we've always been doing it. Well, the way you've always been doing it has always been abusive, even if you weren't aware of it. Ignorance is not an excuse. So what's the deal between these 2 emperors? What is going on between these 2? Because this doesn't necessarily feel macro scale to me. Maybe more mid? And it could just be 2 strong personalities clashing. Like, that could be where this vibe is coming from. Idealism. A clash of ideals. It's a big one. And that's very Aquarian. Oh, Sun in Aquarius. Yeah. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about or something. But Sun in Aquarius Very Aquarian to challenge systems, challenge ideals, challenge the status quo. Very innovative and eccentric sign. And the 10th house, that's... is that systems? Can be. Where's my notes? Where's my this? Oh, structure. That was a word I was looking for. Words. Career, structure, fame, experts, and goals. So that could be the ideals that these emperors are clashing over. And I'm interpreting this as two individuals. This could be two systems going at each other. Like two businesses, something like that. Doesn't necessarily have to be a person. But also, probably, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, the Ogham that she's got painted on her décolletage there, willow. I don't remember how to say that. But communication with the unseen, with the other world, with the other side. I love willow trees. They're so pretty. I just want to build a little house, like a squirrel, under there. The weeping willows. Extremism. Mercury in Scorpio. So two persons, systems, whatever, that have very different views. Which, sister signs. Leo, Aquarius, opposite ends. Very polarized. But he's like shoving a contract or something in her face. Like, this kind of brings up that theme that keeps getting carried through of rejection. That somebody is really insistent on, well, you're my twin flame, or whatever, you're my Excalibur. Whichever way we want to, whatever metaphor we want to use, that someone's like imposing control with. And those giant hawks, it's also giving me Lord of the Rings. And she's obviously resistant to it, like she's holding his wrists away from her. And he almost looks sad. Like, why won't you take this contract that's to your detriment? Listen to yourself talk, that's why. What about this extremism? So extreme ideals. Maybe their ideals on either side. On one side, I don't know, are extreme. Bluff and enterprise. Interesting. Jupiter in Gemini and Jupiter in Aries. And I think Jupiter was a topic we brought up too, because that transition, Venus is about to join Jupiter in Cancer, then Jupiter soon-ish, this summer at some point, will go into Leo. But these were in reverse. And Jupiter, the traditional ruler of Pisces, planet of abundance, of expansion, the Roman name for Zeus. Oh, and there was another chain reaction, too. Because there was that chain reaction of the incense lighting the other incense stick. When I was, like, melting the bottom of the candle to get it to stick in the little holder, the ashes relit. So there were two flames in this candle in the middle. So more chain reactions, more heat, more conflict. Somebody made a bluff about their kingdom, about whatever this contract is that he's like shoving in her face. Like, this is a bluff to try and win the war. I don't know. It almost seems like that's the demise. Like, that's what ultimately brings this emperor down, the emperor in reverse, is some sort of bluff. And it says enterprise, so it might be like, come over to the dark side. We have cookies. Like all those t-shirts and stuff that they used to have at Spencer's. So what? Tell me more about this bluff. I'm curious about that. That came out right away. Okay. And this is a really important plot point to Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. Got the Game of Thrones tarot out here. And as always, Ten of Swords, my favorite. Only way from rock bottom is up. And now I have all the swords. And that is actually how I would interpret that in the reverse here, in this context, is the bluff was seen, maybe not right away, but once it was seen, the Emperor in the upright realized, now I have all the swords. It's like the battlefield has been seen. Covers blown. Because this, you know, the death card is change. And this is a moonlit gravesite here in this. So hidden illusions, but it's like illusion revealed. And like, Jon Snow didn't realize at first, like they played on something emotional to get him down there. What was it, like your uncle's alive or something? Like something that really compromised his judgment and then got him into the position they wanted him in. But he got back up again. Had the help of the High Priestess, of course, but the Red Woman. So it's like, even if all 10 of these swords ended up landing, like even if whatever this contract is that he's shoving in her face, even if that was signed, the Emperor in the upright got back up. So what was this 10 of Swords in reverse? Nine of Cups in reverse and Four of Cups. Okay, so this feels like a trick. Because that Nine of Cups in reverse is like a wish not granted, like a scam or something. Like a... It'd be like something in an agreement. Well, let me form that thought a little bit. Because Four of Cups is apathy. He's trying to give her an offer she doesn't want, but she's kind of destitute, and it's like the only option she has. And I do have a good example for this, but it like, this is a use your discernment, use your judgment, I'm not responsible for your choices sort of thing. There's been some public discourse around like SSRIs and things like that. And I'm not a doctor. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your support system. Things like that. And I kind of see when someone like RFK Jr., who is an unqualified lunatic, it's my personal opinion, says and does things, people will swing all the way to the opposite end and go, the opposite of what he's saying is right or correct. You're both wrong. Because the way that he in particular presents information, it's like half-baked. It's not a full conclusion. It's not like a full, well thought out, well presented argument. Because low serotonin as a cause of depression is a hypothesis that hasn't been proven. And I'm quoting, it's Dr. Mark Horowitz on that. It's a good video on YouTube about this. I think it's called like the history of antidepressants or something. He's much more thorough than my non-clinical self. But it was a hypothesis floated by academics, which pharmaceutical companies like latched onto and like, look how much money we can get out of this. Now, I think a lot of this discourse is treating SSRIs and the word antidepressant, really the category antidepressant, as interchangeable, and they're not. Like, that comprises, I think, 20 plus compounds. Like, the phrase antidepressant comprises like 20 plus compounds of medicines. But the way that that information gets presented to patients is where I start to have an issue, because these are scientists, talking about doctors, not RFK Jr., but scientists who are well versed in the area, who know the difference between anecdotal and empirical, and are presenting these things as if they're empirical to a population, i.e. patients, who have a very high likelihood of being scientifically illiterate. That's gaslighting. Like, there's just no other way to cut that. I see that personally as very irresponsible. And we as patients, as the consumers, even though we're treated like products by the insurance companies, it is reasonable for us to demand, expect better scientific scrutiny over things we're being prescribed. And just taking away people's medicine without actually addressing the systemic issues that are making them go towards it, that's not okay. That's just leaving people up a creek without a paddle. They're just leaving them to flounder. And like, it gets really complicated. But that's kind of the layers I'm getting here of how involved this is. And it doesn't mean patients should indefinitely just be given the good enough solution just because we're not addressing the systemic issues that cause people to gravitate towards antidepressants. And my true, like, tinfoil hat moment, you can't be drafted, is if you're on SSRIs, to my knowledge. Just seeing the climate of things, that's where my alarm bells start to go off. It's like, because we're talking about two emperors here. This is like two chessboards going at each other, you know. Not even two sides of a chessboard. It's more complicated than that. But Sansa over here is just kind of like, well, what else do I do besides accept this thing you're shoving in my face? And, well, I guess I don't have another option. But really the point I'm getting at here is that this person, the Emperor in reverse, is presenting something to someone that they know doesn't know what questions to ask. Like as if they were scientifically illiterate. Something like that. Again, discernment. You're responsible for your own choices. So, what was this agreement, this Nine of Cups in reverse? And I'm not trying to, just as a side note, I'm not trying to sway anybody in any sort of way. You have to make the choices that are right for you. I'm just pro information. That's my stance on things. And you don't always get the information you need from the primary source. Oftentimes you have to go looking for it. You have to get different perspectives. There's perceptions getting in the way, and just like the chokehold that insurance companies have on how the American healthcare system functions, big air quotes on that, it's gross. Like what part of how we're functioning today furthers health when we have insurance companies leading the charge and not healthcare workers, people who actually want to help? Because insurance companies are about money, not about health. It's like knowing the author, questioning the author of the statement, of the agreement being shoved in your face. So what? Going with that one. Sticking out. Inheritance. Saturn in Scorpio. Like you'll get all the riches in the world. That's the Nine of Cups in reverse. It's like the wish that was never granted, the outcome that was promised, it's like the Emperor in upright, or maybe the Emperor in upright is standing up for person affected by this agreement. I'm almost getting false documents too. Like something that was signed, like you signed something, but what ended up in some like court record or whatever is not what you actually signed. Something to do with inheritance. Money. It's more like it's money grabbing. Money, money, money. Greedy, grubby. Bad, nefarious intentions. Because it like... that hearing with AOC, where she was showing like the closed system of CVS, how everything kind of flows back into each other eventually. That was pretty chilling. Like, not only how are you supposed to get good care that way, you can't, when it's a for-profit and like by law they have to maximize profits for the shareholders, which are not the patients. How do you hold anybody accountable in a closed system? You also cannot. It's all too biased. It's another reason why scientific literacy is important, so you can challenge bias. Because there are a lot of really smart people in really important positions that are extremely biased. Cannot see past the tip of their own nose. Assertion, yeah. Sun in Aries. That's a very aggressive energy. That's like, well, I'm the person with the letters behind my name. I'm the person with the degree. I'm right. Even if what they're saying is blatantly false or blatantly incorrect. And maybe you have a high school diploma. Maybe you got a bachelor's degree or something. But what you're saying is correct. And the only thing that matters is that you don't have those letters behind your name. That's not discernment. That's not judgment. That's bias. And there's so many problems caused by that. There's another one. We'll just stick with the RFK Jr. examples. And this was actually a failure from what I saw on the experts' side. Because he had said something about diet relating to like mental health symptoms of like mania, schizophrenia, stuff like that, as that candle pops. If someone changes their diet, I'm not telling you to do this, talk to your doctor. If someone changes their diet to like the keto diet, for example, and mental health symptoms improve, that person might have been having seizures. Yeah. It's one of the many things that were discovered by accident throughout my health journey. Like, I just did things, got prescribed medication for different things, and then got better in kind of inexplicable ways, which really pissed me off. Like, there has to be a better way to do this, to figure out that I've been having seizures this whole time. Kind of a challenge, given that they're, like, psychological. But, where I saw the failure on the expert side was where they chose to mock rather than educate. That was an excellent opportunity for clinicians or whatnot to come forward from their position of expertise and explain what he was actually saying. Not siding with him, not agreeing with him, but educate the masses. Do no harm. Choosing to mock as opposed to educate, that's harm. And I know, unfortunately, the do no harm is a legal position and not an ethical one, but I want to believe it's an ethical one. And it doesn't matter how much you dislike somebody. If you have an opportunity to do good, where the other choice is to do bad or do nothing, why not do good? All it would have taken was for them to utilize their expertise and expand on it. And I'm not one of those, like, information hoarders, like gatekeeping information. I believe in treating adults like adults. Especially, I don't know, there are these positions that people get that they just want to exert control. Like, that's their main focus. But we've got lust, Venus in Aries, and concentration, Saturn in Gemini. Seven of Swords on this too. And this kind of looks like the nautical star there in the middle. And I do have the Lust card covered. Needless to say. But Seven of Swords, that's deception. And it kind of looks like he's having a grand old time. It's like gallivanting based on spoils and riches acquired through deception. And then there's the seventh deadly sin for, and it doesn't necessarily have to be lust, but maybe it is for the Emperor in reverse. Lust for money, potentially, inheritance. And that's like the driving force. It's kind of like the pharmaceutical companies, the CVS, But think of the stakeholders. Do you mean patients? Who your stakeholders should be if you're running an insurance company? You wingnut? Just saying. And people take such, like, I don't know, polarizing. That's a word I use. Polarizing. Black and white stances on, like, well, I don't like this person's unqualified, so I'm just going to agree with the opposite of what they said. Or, I had a bad experience with doctors, so I'm just going to do the opposite of what they said. Just like, whoa, take a breath. Maybe everybody's wrong. Like, nobody's right. Something needs to be evaluated a little bit further. We need to dig into, like, how do we end up here with unqualified people making decisions for large swaths of people, and us not being transparent with patients. Like, how did we get here? That's kind of a theme from the last reading of the Emperor was kind of stepping in and going, like, how did this go on so long? Like, all this infighting and all whatnot. So how did this go on so long? And my opinions are my own. Anytime I'm mentioning medical stuff, it feels like prudent to mention, speaking from my own life experience, my own, not qualified. Verify the things that the disembodied hands on the internet are telling you. Don't forget that. It's important. We've got the Ace of Spears in reverse, 3 of Spears, 6 of Cups, and 9 of Swords in reverse. So the Ace of Spears is a delay. In reverse, it's a delay. It could be a delay to creative projects, getting something off the ground, an idea off the ground. If you want to take it really in universe, if you will. This is Oberyn Martell's spear. So he had this whole long-standing plot to get revenge and got caught up in, like, the showboating and whatnot. I don't know if the Emperor and Upright, I'm not getting showboating vibes from them, but it might be just a long-standing conflict that delayed ships coming in. Or maybe that's the Emperor arriving, like that's their fleet. Laying the smackdown, in a way, because that's Peter Baelish. So it'd be like an emperor from a far-off land came in, the Emperor and the Upright. They know Littlefinger's deal, but he doesn't know that they know. So he's just, like, out in the open, ready to welcome them in. Open arms, mead, nostalgia, catching up. And this might even be like oh, well, I've seen this before. Coming from the Emperor side, because we've got Jon Snow here, who is on the Emperor card in this deck. And it's like, no, not even a drop of sweat on the brow, because this has all been seen before. It's like a tired play. And Aquarian energy, that's like so far in the future. That's like somebody that's ahead of their time. They seem wacky, mad scientists, whatnot. It's because their macro view is so much larger, it's so much further ahead, that there's just a gap in between them and the tribe, whomever else is involved. There's a quote I see floating around a lot. It's like, sometimes crazy means being right too early. So it could be something like that. And we have Nine of Swords in reverse. That's a relief of nightmares. So this Emperor coming in, or stepping up, maybe from within this tribe, from within this group, is bringing some sort of conflict to an end. Maybe it's better disclosure of things, whatever the thing is. As the clock chimes right there on that. Better transparency, better conditions, not being accepting of the, well, this is the way we've always done it. And, well, we can't possibly trust adults with information. If you can't trust adults with information, what are you doing? What are you doing that's wrong? That's one thing that has really bothered me about the medical system, is it's so insulated that, yes, there's a lot of bias and like personal stories and personal experiences and things like that, which doesn't mean they should be discredited. They need to be accounted for in the appropriate way. But I think the thing that a lot of us see is it's near impossible to go against the medical system when they've done something wrong or something we perceive to be wrong. I think a lot of people who, you could use a term like psychiatric injury and whatnot, and they're inherently using a system that at its foundation it's anecdotal. It's an anecdotal diagnostic methodology. So you're inherently challenging opinions. Like, there's no x-ray for mental health issues. And that's what bothers me so much. So if you've been on the channel for any length of time, you know how pro-therapy I am. I start to have like real issues and real concerns when it comes to psychiatry, and beyond my own personal issues. It's just the way that it functions. And there seems to be this like kind of deference, almost like a godly deference to psychiatry, and I don't know why. Because it's anecdotal. Like, that is just what grinds my gears so much. Like, there has to be a better way. I'm not implying nothing is going on. What I'm asking for is better methods. Like, better scientific scrutiny. Because if you open a history book about psychiatry, asylums, anything like that, the souls of women and people of color will fly out who have been wronged. And we just kind of carry on as if these things never happened. Like, the people we're being treated by today, these are the sons of the fathers who lobotomized women. And many people in that position, if there weren't laws to stop them, they would still be lobotomizing women. And any other marginalized group that they could get their hands on. Because it's not like that profession is exempt from people who are going to take advantage of being in a position of power. That it's like the position of power is what gets taken advantage of. Psychiatry, politics, management, whatever, that's just the paint job. It doesn't matter. It's the power that gets taken advantage of. And patients deserve better. We're literally putting our lives in their hands. And then we're the ones that have to live with the repercussions of their choices, their decisions, their bias, their education, whatever. And there's no way to go against them. Not if you're of the poors, not if you're a pleb or a serf. That's not a good system. And we should be able to openly critique it. So something, and that's that like polarization of ideals, the challenging of ideals. Because people kind of tend to fall into those camps. They're either like, yes, the doctor is always right, or no, I was treated terribly and now I'm traumatized, which valid. Where's the middle ground? Because medicine is a good thing. Getting people the help they want, they need, they whatevers, that's a good thing. Having good, solid options available to people that don't make their lives harder, that's what we need. So what's at the core of this tug of war? Get a lot of opposites. Opposite energy. And even in these two cards too, death and life, fire festival. Fire is life. I'll go with these. Impulsivity, or impulsiveness, rather. Mars in Aries. And independence. Moon in Aquarius. But impulsiveness was reverse, and independence was upright. Upright. It's bringing me back to that Aquarian energy. Moon in Aquarius. That's like the Emperor in reverse, trying to convince maybe the Emperor in upright that an Aquarius, someone Aquarian, is being impulsive when they're not. They're just like walking to the beat of their own drum. And maybe this Emperor in reverse doesn't understand that person, but took some sort of action that is a detriment to them in some way. Over inheritance, over money. What else about this? What is this? This is a weird vibe. Because it's like micro, macro, other. Such a strange push and pull. Two and two. Control. Two Capricorn cards. Jupiter in Capricorn, and organization, Mercury in Capricorn. Losing control of something larger. Disorder, disharmony. Is that the perception maybe the Emperor in reverse is trying to create about the Aquarian? That like, whoa, if you listen to them, what just came to mind? Mean Girls. When he's like, don't have sex, otherwise you'll get pregnant and you'll die. Like, it's that kind of like that dramatic sort of approach to things. Like, throughout my whole health journey, like throughout my life and stuff, talking to parents about, like, or attempting to talk, rather, about concerns I had over my treatment plan or the medicine, because I was getting visibly worse in front of everybody's eyes, and I didn't see how this was beneficial. Like, that plan, it wasn't going in the right direction, and it seems like when things start not going well, at least in my experience, it's just like, try more medicine, or try this different cocktail. We just need to find the right cocktail. That's an approach. Or we could maybe identify the correct root cause. Another approach, maybe. But it was like this cardinal sin for me to be questioning the doctor at all. Which, that's my red flag right there, that I'm not actually getting supported. Because it's reasonable to question your treatment plan. Like, it's literally my life. These are powerful drugs that have very serious effects on people. I gained an appreciation for what is it, the black label? Like, what that truly means. And that was rough. But it's like having an issue with me having questions about safety gear if I was going rock climbing or something. Like, why would it be a problem for me to have questions about this? Or what happens if it doesn't go well? Like, what am I supposed to do? And if I'm not able to ask this person questions 24/7, because that's not their role, being the doctor, not an on-call role, anything like that. But it's a type of vibe that someone would paint. Maybe you're the Aquarian in this scenario. I don't know if you're the Emperor or the Aquarian. Maybe that's the same person. Lost my train of thought. I was doing too many things at once. Incense, and gotta light the incense. Too many tasks. But it's that vibe of somebody be like, oh, how dare you question the doctor? You must be crazy. Like, well, yes, it's well established, but I have questions. Crazy people are allowed to have questions. But you're in such a vulnerable state at that point, that you might not be asking questions you would otherwise ask if you were at, like, say, baseline. Or you might be trusting people you think you can trust. Like, there's an incident where I felt like, through a family member, I signed a piece of paperwork under duress. Because just the way they act, and they get so demanding around when they want something. Like, it's their way or the highway. Like, I had to deal with that all through my childhood. I wasn't actually given an option. I was just kind of a puppet, kind of there. And it's like I was put in a position where I was afraid to say no to that family member, to signing away access to my HIPAA rights and things like that, so that they would be able to communicate with the doctor as well. And I don't feel like I got justice for that, for any of that, for what I was put through. Like, I literally used the word coercive with my doctor, referencing my family member. And I was dismissed as, like, symptomatic. I wasn't. I was informing my doctor of a problem. They didn't listen. And then just kept, like, more pills, whatnot. And this is, again, I try to be cautious. You know, I don't want to influence people's choices. But for my own personal situation, had I not gone my own way, I would not be doing this reading right now. It saved my life, going my own way, going against everything I was taught to depend on, everything I was taught to believe, everything I was supposed to be able to trust for support. I had to turn away from it to save myself. The pain that they put me through, the doctor, my family, some friends we just grew apart, you know, through all this. It's not true for everybody. But it's like somebody weaponizing that, a painful situation like that. Going, well, look how they were in the past. Years ago. Can't possibly trust them now. They have a past. They weren't born today. Like, it's just such ridiculous stuff that, like, when you say the subtext out loud, are like, oh, wait. We've been looking in the wrong direction for the crazy person. So what is this narrative about the Aquarian? Going with that. Stuck out. This Page of Spears. Student of ideas? Student of life? I'm almost getting like a naive. Like the perception that's trying to be painted about, I'm just gonna call them the Aquarian, is that they're naive, when really they're just so far ahead of the rest of the group on either this topic, things in general, that they're just not understood. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean they're naive. It means the people around them don't get them. Something I've gone through. Aquarius rising. I can't tell you how many times, like, say work, for example, I'll say something, and then the person on the other side of the table, they don't understand what I'm saying, and they assume I'm wrong. That's ego. That doesn't have anything to do with me and my actual knowledge. That's someone being egotistical or judgmental or whatever. But it's like someone playing on, like, the Emperor in reverse, leaning into that Aquarian nature. Like, they're so strange, they're so eccentric. I don't know. So what else about this? And I hope, by sharing my own anecdotes and stuff, there's anybody out there that's gone through similar things that I've gone through, if nothing else, I hope you know you can keep putting one foot in front of the other. You might not have the solution today. You might not even know where you're headed. What direction your feet are taking you. Let them take you forward. Forward is a direction. And if you need to collapse on the couch and let your nervous system kind of sew itself back together for a bit, that's okay too. Six of Swords in reverse. This is keeping somebody in place. Whatever this narrative is, that the Emperor in reverse either is or has been constructing is keeping someone or someone's in place. Could be the entire kingdom. Because a true emperor knows they don't flourish unless the kingdom does. No exceptions. If the kingdom is not flourishing, they are not. Even if it seems like it. It's temporary. It will come to an end. Like, history books much? We've been over this many a time. And also, that's just cruel to keep that tight a lock on something, someone, for your own gain. Like, to keep them in place for your own gain. But I don't imagine somebody that operates like this, kind of what we're getting at here, cares. It's like, win at all costs. Win the war. Like, what, the war that you started needlessly? Like, you could have just been reasonable. Could have sorted this out. But now we're at war. Fine. If that's what you want, that's what you get. That's the other emperor. That's the, maybe that is the Aquarian looking up from their scribbles and their alchemy sets and their chalkboard and whatnot. Like, okay, fine, let's fight. Five of Cups. And it didn't lead to the outcome that the Emperor in reverse was looking for. Because what did Cersei love more than anything? Power. As the clock chimes. I think many of the first initial responses to that might be her children. It's power. It's always been power. Because yes, I think she did have an affinity towards her children. She was exceedingly cruel, though, at heart, and manipulative, vindictive. Excellent archetype, though, for that show. So what? I mean, I think we've come to the conclusion that the Emperor has lost. The Emperor in reverse. The person shoving the agreement in the face, maybe of the Aquarian, not being transparent about things, starting a war instead of just being honest about what the intentions were. So what brought the conflict to a head? Because I don't know if this is actually past tense or this will be past tense. But it feels like we're locked into this course, whatever it is, whatever scale this is operating at. What brought this to a head? Because whatever it did, it flipped the wheel. Broke the wheel. And I mean, not really, because that was Daenerys' intent. This turned the wheel on its head. It's like the Wheel of Fortune card. Birth. And loss. Ooh. Just gonna give a trigger warning on that, just because the connotation that came to mind. I don't think that's necessarily losing a birth, though. Could be losing a new beginning. It's Venus in Cancer. Oh, I mentioned that. Should be. The 9th? So when that transit occurs, I think. And then Saturn in Pisces. And that's the Eight of Cups card. Saturn in Pisces. Leaving. Resources dried up. Is this somebody going on a rampage? Because they didn't get some start that they wanted? Some new beginning? Like, I don't know, the inheritance? Whatever that represents? Whatever this delayed beginning was? Maybe it was your beginning? A beginning that was intended for the Aquarian? That without that, it's like we're frozen in time. Which it kind of feels that way right now, like IRL, the real world. Like, I actually woke up this morning, forgot it was Monday. I thought it was like a weekend day or something. It's like we're supposed to be moving on, but there's a drag that's creating friction. Fortune. Sun in Leo. And it was in reverse. Yeah, some fortune, some inheritance, some money that wasn't obtained. And so now, Emperor in reverse, Cersei, is going on some kind of rampage. And that's what brought things to a head. It was like the rampage, the rage, the inability to regulate oneself. It's what brought Oberyn Martell to his demise, an inability to regulate oneself. King of Cups. Interessant. Jon Snow. Also. Master of Emotions. Is that the upright emperor? I think so. Because it's the Jon Snow. So the emperor in reverse. Unregulated, dysregulated person gets regulated by someone else, by the emperor in the upright. Which could be the Aquarian, could be an outside force. Like, if you're in a business, it could be some regulatory body or a lawyer or something like that. So what else about this King of Cups? How many is that? Just taking the bottom one. Eight of Cups, yeah. Saturn in Pisces. Leaving. And that, is that also Jon Snow? I think it is. His watch is over. This is like the Emperor upright shuts this down. And the way these cups are split, the one cup is separate. So then there's 7. So it's like they clear the illusion, cut through it, and then they're out. Their watch is over. Like, their work is done here. It just made me think of a Grey's Anatomy episode. It was like the traveling trauma counselor. And then when it was his time to leave, like, he had started hooking up with one of the doctors or whatever. And it was kind of like, oh, you're leaving? Like, yeah. That's kind of what I do. Like, world-renowned trauma counselor or whatever. I need to go over here now to the next tragedy. So, some fancy pants lawyer, something like that. Just like, nope, 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 nope. This, and this is wrong with the agreement. Yeah, the Aquarian signed it, but you're a lying sack of you know what. This is not enforceable. Goodbye. Just like shut it down with the quickness. Especially if something has been going on a really long time. It's like somebody who knows when to swing the hammer and that you don't pull the punches. Like, was it the first season of Game of Thrones? When, his dad, Jon Snow's father, adoptive father, he who issues the sentence must swing the sword, something like that. Basically telling Jon Snow that if you sentence someone to death, you yourself must swing that sword. And like if you were actually in that position, you would want to give it your all so they don't suffer. At least that's my way of thinking. So this is somebody who's coming in and swinging the sword. Like, no joke, this is not a game. We're done playing, because maybe this Emperor in reverse has been treating this like a game, like other people's lives, treating it like a game. As if they're disposable. As if their kingdom doesn't rely on the health and happiness of the bottom of the pyramid. It's like the Emperor, oh hey, Justice. It's that guy. It's Jon Snow's dad. I'm gonna keep all these out for context. But he's distracted me. Can't even remember what I was saying. Whatever. Maybe you can infer. We've got Justice, 4 of Swords, and 7 of Swords in reverse. So when Justice comes in, there will be no rest when the lies are revealed of this Emperor in reverse. Like, this is somebody who's fair with a heavy hand. Like, they're not interested in sob stories. They're not interested in, well, Billy, little Timmy, stole my eraser in kindergarten, and that's why I'm a tyrant now. Don't care. I care about you being a tyrant and you taking action against people that you rely on for your success. Like your dependence. I think that's what I was getting at. Was this Emperor in reverse has like forgot their place. That their success depends on the shoulders on which they stand. That they can't do it all alone. They might even not be able to do many, if not the majority, of the kingdom management tasks, whatever. They actually need these people, but they're treating them like they're disposable. Like, oh, we'll just go get more. More humans, more batteries for the Matrix. Like, no, you won't. Because, like, the reputational damage that you've done to this kingdom, people are moving elsewhere. People don't want to be around this place because abusers don't abuse in a vacuum. There's enablers. There's people who facilitate abuse. And maybe that's what this Emperor in the upright is coming in and seeing the full swath of the chessboard. Kind of like I was using those layered examples of, like, there's multiple points of failure, touch points of failure in, like, single subject concerns. And it's kind of looking at that from that bird's eye view. And just going, no, you demanded crops from your serfs and then you salted their earth. Like, how dare you? How dare you treat your people like that? There will be no mercy. There will be no leniency. We're taking this all the way. So, woe unto the conquered emperor. And I don't feel bad. Because you treat your subjects like that? The people you depend on for your success? Why should they be merciful? Why should they provide leniency? They were dependent on that leader. And that leader betrayed them when they had no other options. It's deplorable. Abhorrent. Abhorrent. I don't feel like I know how to pronounce that correctly. Despicable. Dastardly. Other words. Frostpunk. This, I started playing this it was the first year of the pandemic. I got completely absorbed into it because I really like the more infrastructure style games, like city builders and stuff like that, and this is in that ilk. But it's really good. I think the second one might be out for PC. I don't know about console. But I got all the DLC and whatnot for this because I was just so like, I will defeat this game. And it's really difficult. It's one of those that, like, I'm really glad I had that escape during such a difficult time. Something that could fully absorb my focus and actually let me escape all that uncertainty and guessing games and nightmarish scenarios that were going through all of our heads. And I mean, if you're talking about two emperors clashing, this could be something that is very consuming in your life, maybe all encompassing. Maybe it is your job. Something that involves a large part, or maybe I'm kind of getting there's like crossover with social circles, because he was in Lord of the Rings too, and that came up. So it's like mixing populations that wouldn't otherwise mix. So I don't know, maybe there's a bunch of people involved in this. Two kingdoms, you know? Something like that. I'm just getting the sense, though, that whatever you need to help you cope with something of this scale, of this breadth, might not be the conventional advice of, like, yoga and take a walk or whatever. Like, intricate puzzle games. Maybe even like a big puzzle, like a 1,000-piece puzzle that really captures your attention in a way that actually will let you escape. Not be distracted, sorta, while you're still kinda thinking about what's going on. Like something that fully, like, you get locked into it. I don't know why it feels so necessary, so big right now. But just like what I said in the last reading, it doesn't necessarily feel like there's anything for you to do other than self-care. So take care of yourself. And overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, sorta. And we'll see you next time. Do take care of yourself.